Hey, we're doing things a little differently today. Good morning, by the way. Hope everybody had a great weekend. No pleasantries. No Lucas is back there. You know the phone number, 615-737-1045. Oh, pop up right out the gate. Spoiled my hole open. Either way, because we got to talk about this atrocity that happened yesterday. Lucas and I just got back from Philadelphia this morning. Buddy, did you enjoy your half hour at home before we came right back in?
I did.
Well, good. Because I don't know what the next 3 hours are going to be like, but I don't think it's going to be particularly enjoyable for anybody, because that sure as hell wasn't yesterday. Good God. I sat there in the press box at the Link last night, and there were a couple of different times during the game where all of us who sit, in the press box together, everybody that travels, looking around and saying, okay, what the hell do they do here? Like, what is the chess move? What is this, Tennessee Titans, Mike Vrabel, John Robinson special sauce that's going to save this particular football team? Because they, talk about a crossroads last night. You're going to hear from Mike Vrabel. You're going to hear from Kevin Byard, Derrick Henry, all kinds of kinds. Because everybody had a lot to say last night, and they should, because what the hell? 35 to 10, and it didn't particularly feel that close. What team do you know in the NFL right now is capable of being penalized 12 times over the course of 4 quarters and still winning by 25 points? Couldn't pick one.
They averaged 43.5 yards, or they came into yesterday averaging 43.5 penalty yards per game. The Eagles did. They had 40 in the first quarter.
It was as sloppy a dominant performance as I have seen this year.
Just because of the penalties?
No, in total, like, that game had no flow because of all the penalties. I thought it bogged down a lot of things. And you know who it didn't bother? Philadelphia. They just rolled over them. Just completely steamrolled them. And they did it without the thing that's supposed to make them super dangerous, right? They barely ran the ball yesterday. They killed the Titans through the air. You're not supposed to be able to do that against Jeffrey Simmons, against Kevin Byard, against Christian Fulton while he was still out there, against David Long while he was still out there, as the Titans now reach 76 players used on the season, second only to the Arizona Cardinals at 77. Jimmy Wyatt with that stat last night. And of all the different things that this team has to figure out, as always, it's not one thing. But instead of talking about, okay, there's a couple of different things on the offense. Maybe they could do this. Maybe they could try that. Maybe this will make it better. No, this is a deep issue on every level. And we're going to dissect it today. You want to jump in, you're welcome to do so. 615-737-1045. But the thing that kind of crystallized this, at least for me, not just in the press conference last night, but in thinking about it, got back to the hotel. I really didn't turn on Sunday Night Football until about the fourth quarter, when the Colts had 33 scored on them in a quarter. Because I just sat there writing. I did the primetime show from the Link, just stewing about this. And Mike Vrabel gives the quote yesterday about what he told the team in the locker room before he came out to speak with us. This is what the head coach had to say.
Well, I think we're at a crossroads. I told the team I think we're at a crossroads, and kind of how we, want to continue down this season. And we can't point fingers. We have to assume that each and every one of us didn't do a good enough job, because we didn't. We have to come to work with greater energy and greater resolve to prepare to win a football game against a division opponent. And it sucks losing. It sucks getting beat the way we did. But we have to, we got to make a decision. How much are we willing to invest and trust in what the coaches are doing, trust in what each and other players are doing. So I think it's a critical time for us.
You ever heard him sound like that? He's had a couple of moments, but they're pretty few and far between. What did you take? Because you and I had different interpretations of what this crossroads means, right? And that's the question that I'd pose to the audience today. And you can vote on it on the Twitter poll or respond to it on the Twitter poll. @BuckRising is where you do that. We'll update them at the end of the show. But when you hear Mike Vrabel say, we're at a crossroads right now, what context did that hit you with?
I don't think our interpretations are that different.
Okay, what's yours?
I don't know what other directions they could go in.
That's the right answer.
A crossroads, typically you have options. You're looking left or you're looking right. I don't know that there is a left or right for the Titans.
There is one way forward for this team as presently constructed. And that's exactly what you saw last night. You're going to mess around and you're going to beat teams who you should beat. You're good enough to do that. You've got the coaching. You've got a superstar here and there that can make plays. Although the one on the defensive side of the ball, I don't know if he's not right, but he's been invisible for about a month. You know who else has over the same span? Derrick Henry. That's what I'm talking about. This is like a multi-level failure, and it just feels... Before Green Bay, I came in... my thought about the Titans offense was like, oh, this thing is just in a steady state of decay. Treylon Burks came back. They've had moments, and even yesterday had moments where they pass protected well enough. No separation after Treylon Burks got knocked out with a concussion. And it just looked like pre-Green Bay all over again. And I saw this is Todd Downing's fault. Fire Todd Downing. I saw people going after offensive line coach Keith Carter. For what? Please tell me. Mike Vrabel doesn't have roster control. You think Keith Carter gets to pick who he sends out there every Sunday? Man, get the bleep out of here. Crossroads implies options. And Mike Vrabel's definition of options are different than yours and mine might be, although it sounds like we're kind of thinking the same thing. They don't have anywhere else to turn right now. There is no better option than Dennis Daly. Dylan Radins was the thing that was offered up to me when I posed that question, because I saw LaRaven Clark go in that game too after they were getting their asses kicked. They took Tannehill out. They took Derrick Henry out. It probably took too long to take Tannehill out because he's about one of 4 offensive players, maybe 5, playing good football right now. And when I watched LaRaven Clark, who is Dennis Daly's backup, I said, oh, that's why Dennis Daly's on the field. Good God. So Dylan Radins, the guy that lost his job at right tackle to a third-round rookie, who, by the way, did not play well last night either. No, none of them did. Not well enough. The guy who can't play right tackle and is relegated to backup guard as a second-round pick, that's the guy you want to put on the left side. It goes in this order. Bad, worse, worst. And the expectation that there's just going to be some kind of solution sitting out there on the free agent market. When you traded a 5th-round pick for Dennis Daly, a guy that was probably getting cut anyway in Carolina. So, yeah, Mike's words are spot on. It's an attitude thing. Hey, this is what we've got. We are just going to have to completely commit to trying to do this thing the best possible way that we can. And sometimes it's going to look like last night did. Because they can't get pressure right now. Jeff is, I assume, dealing with something. Because he's gone from utterly dominant to, he's out there. To his credit, he's playing. But if you're out there, the expectation is obviously on you to perform. Danico Autry's absence has never been felt more. They're giving up explosive plays again. They had done well to hold that down. They're losing one-on-one matchups in the back on the back end. They can't run the football. And so, if you want to fire the offensive coordinator, okay, whatever. Good luck. You think the offensive line coach is the person that's causing these problems? Fine. Whatever makes you happy. You think that dropping Dylan Radins in on the left side is going to make things better? You can try it, but I bet you're going to see exactly what they do, which is this guy can't play here. So this crossroads is about a commitment to just trying to do this thing the best possible way that they can, because the personnel's not changing. And, maybe something happens with the coaching staff at the end of the year, but not before then. And you have to be more competitive against legitimate teams than you have been for everybody except Washington, who tied yesterday, but honestly looks like a better football team than the Titans do right now. They run the football better, and they get after the quarterback better.
That also is not the re-energized version of the Commanders that we've seen since Heineke took over.
No. That was a bit more sluggish than we're accustomed to. But still, he's making plays. He has time. Tannehill had time yesterday, and then after Burks went down, no separation again. And, I mean, yes, you can find Hooper. You can find Chig. Chig made a great play. Austin Hooper is reliable. But then when the defense says, okay, no more of that, Nick Westbrook-Akina, non-factor. Robert Woods, non-factor. Derrick can't get going. And, I mean, I don't think it's his fault. What's he going to do? Everybody saw how that offensive line played last night. So we'll talk about this throughout the course of the day. We're going to go piece by piece with this thing. 615-737-1045. We'll hear from Mike Vrabel live at the podium at noon. He'll have the opportunity to watch the tape, and hopefully he'll have a more serious discussion with us as media than he did about this offensive line situation last night. Because I get his position. He doesn't have another option. And, he's not going to take out one of his own dudes. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Did you count looking? We should have done it on our fingers for the audience watching on Zone TV. Got him at 5?
I had 4.
Okay. I thought I heard an extra one in there. 4 or 5, either way. I know what there was 5 of. 5 sacks of Ryan Tannehill last night against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that one, the Fletcher Cox one, didn't even look that bad. It's just like a bear hug and kind of ran him out of bounds and said, okay, little guy, go on your way. Like patted him on the butt. Said, okay, you're going to be all right. And then, at some point, Josh Sweat is crunching him and Brandon Graham is chewing on his neck. You ever seen The Revenant? The Leonardo DiCaprio movie?
Yes.
The bear?
Was Fletcher Cox the bear?
Fletcher Cox is the bear. Just chewing on that dude's spine.
Well, that makes Tannehill Leo, which isn't bad.
Well, it didn't look fun last night.
Except when you're getting mauled by a bear.
When you are getting mauled, but not one bear, 5. I mean, God. But that's the thing. Like, I don't know how much. Like, there's no point in doing. Well, could they be substantially better if Lawan? By the way, Lawan has got to be looking around, and be like, oh my God, they can't cut me. They can't cut me. Look at this. Now, I don't think he would say that in a public moment, although Taylor says some stuff from time to time, but still, they have no tenable solutions right now. We were talking about the Roger Saffold release in the press box last night because Aaron Brewer obviously insufficient. This is a stat from Mickey Ryan, obviously Blaine and Mickey 1-3 directly after this. I'm sure this will be discussed. Mickey tweeted out a stat about the amount of pressure that Ryan Tannehill was under, but not in total, just at the point, just on the left side of the offensive line. Do you know this number? I know you've seen the stat. Do you know the number of pressures that just Dennis Daly and Aaron Brewer allowed in that game?
Is it 7?
It was 9.
9.
The two of them allowed 9 pressures on the offensive line of Ryan Tannehill last night. 9 different kinds of pressures, hurries, sacks, what have you. They didn't have anything. They don't have any answers. So we asked Mike Vrabel. Teron Davenport, to his credit, asked Mike, and Mike tried to move off it, but the room really wouldn't let him. Mike, or rather, we come in there, and obviously, the first question is, well, is Treylon Burks okay? Because we haven't talked about that and the impact that obviously has, clearly, on their passing game. We'll get to that later on in the show. But he's asked about the offensive line situation. And, in fact, I'll just read it to you directly from the transcript that Philadelphia did so well to put together for us. Hard copies. A lot of dead trees, but it's okay. On considering another option at left tackle, we'll consider do you have the audio? It's okay if you don't. On considering another option at left tackle, we'll consider everything we possibly can to win a game, Teron. So you have it? All right, let's take it from the top.
Given the struggles up front, do you think it might be time to consider another option at left tackle?
We'll consider everything we possibly can to win a game, Teron. So, thank you.
Well, where were the struggles at left tackle or on O-line period?
I think we struggled everywhere today. You're at the game, so everybody's quick to make it about one guy, but it's never about one guy. We've been down this road before, so when you get beat, there's a lot of things that went wrong, and certainly we'll have to look at a bunch of different things.
All right, so that's Mike about the offensive line situation. He tried to move off it. He said thank you to Duran like he was done talking to him, and then pointed. It wasn't at me. It was somebody behind me. I didn't know. I'm not sure who was sitting behind me. Pointed at somebody like he tried to next question Teron when the obvious thing is, hey, Mike, your quarterback got brutalized again. Is there any reason to consider another left tackle option? And he's not going to kill Dennis Daly. Like, no matter how many times you ask him, Mike's never going to do that. By the way, nor should you want a coach to be like, yeah, you know what, that guy, he really sucks. We got to find somebody else to do that job. Because Mike's just as aware. He probably needs Dennis Daly as badly as anything right now because they just need somebody. It sounds off-putting to fans, for sure. And hell, I probably do today too. because I'm just sitting here yelling at you, and that's not my intent. But I guess in moments, and there's been a couple of these where I'm as frustrated as you are about what it is to watch them play at any given point. And that frustration, that off-putting vibe that you get from Vrabel is basically like, what do you want me to say to you? What do you want me to say? Yeah, Dennis Daly sucks. That make you feel better? Can't do anything about it. We need him. He's the starting left tackle. He's the best option they've got. So the thing about this is some of that you can survive. And they have done well in the last couple of games since Treylon Burks has been back to survive some of this stuff because they got a legitimate threat. Now, Derrick hasn't really been able to get going in the past month. The pass rush has struggled mightily, both against Cincinnati, basically since Danico went out. I think that was at some point in the second half of Green Bay. So they've struggled to get pressure. And Jeff, I really think, has struggled since he got hurt in the Chiefs game, missed the Broncos game, and came back. So with all that being said, and by the way, I don't blame that guy for being out there, for putting himself out there. That guy's playing for a contract. Of course he's going to want to be out there. There's $25 million a year probably on the line. So you can't be mad at him about that. You can't be mad at the coaching staff for putting him out there before he might be physically ready to, because he's not going to say, no, coach, I can't go today. So with all that being said, Treylon Burks does fix a lot about their passing game. They had been the best in the league at plays of 30-plus yards, explosive plays of 30-plus yards. They had another one, went for 41 yesterday. Treylon Burks, 25 yards was the touchdown reception. It was great, but he's a threat. And then when he goes off the field, well, then you hear Mike Keith. Can I hear that call again, Lucas, when you have a moment? I don't know how readily it is at your disposal, but I want to hear again how many times Mike Keith said looking as they got legitimate pass protection. And then all of a sudden, no wide receivers breaking open at any point in that game. This was the call on Titans radio yesterday. Oh, he's not listening to me. It's okay. I don't think he can hear me right now.
Sorry, say something. Robertson here talking about the Ravens.
I'll bleep you. I'm doing a thing.
Don't do that to me. Now everybody's
No. Don't run away. He ran out of the room. You see that coward? He ran away from me faster than Dennis Daly ran away from Josh Sweat yesterday. He didn't run away from him. He just got turned around and blocked into another offensive lineman for the Titans. Get on a microphone. Are you going to help me do the show today? You're going to completely derail everything that we're doing. Oh, he can't hear me either now. What the hell is this show?
I'm hurrying.
I don't
What's
need
up,
your
dude?
headphones on. I just need to yell at you.
What are you going to yell at me
What's
for?
wrong with your Ravens?
Nothing. It was nothing. I was just talking. You walk in, you're like, hey, man, how was your weekend?
Don't be mad at me. Be mad at him.
Yeah, okay.
He did this to you.
All right, look.
I'm not.
I'm sorry about what happened. I've already gotten flack for coming in here talking about what's happened this weekend. But the only thing I'm going to say before I leave here is I can't wait for the offseason when I can recut Travis Tritt's Anymore, and I can just sing to Dennis Daly, not having you to hold, and I'm tired of pretending that I don't love you anymore. Except for I'm not talking about that I don't love you anymore. I'm saying that I'm tired of pretending that I do love you.
Back to the shadows.
See ya.
Is that a copyright thing if you just sing a song? I don't think so, right?
Well, it's indiscernible from what Travis Tritt actually sounds like.
I don't know. I thought that was pretty good.
Hey, that was close, man.
I said shadows.
Okay.
Into the abyss.
615-737-1045. We needed that. Phil is in Portland up next. Hey, Phil.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Buck. Hey, listen, my blood pressure's up on this one right here. Look, I disagree with Mike Vrabel about there ain't no one person. No, it's Johnny. It's Johnny in front office. That's the biggest issue, and I remember my great-grandmama used to tell me, you make your bed, you lay in it. So he's made some messed up decisions, and man, Buck, if there was a way I could get you in his position and him in the janitor's closet, I would real quick. Because somebody needs to make a change up there. And, Buck, you got the voice. So when you get him on there, you call him out on it, Buck. I know you'll do it. You got to stand up for the people. And I appreciate all you're doing, but until Johnny is out there, we're going to have to deal with it. Because let me just bring this one last part up. How do you have the head coach say, as long as I'm the coach of the Tennessee Titans, AJ won't go nowhere? And then you have this happen. That lets you know that his voice ain't even heard. You know who's making that decision. All right, you have a blessed day. Thanks, Buck.
Phil, a pro, man. Nailed it. Hey, we haven't talked about this, and because John Robinson doesn't have to speak to the media, and listen, they cannot do anything about the injuries. I wish I had an explanation for you again in back-to-back years other than bad luck. Now, I will say, I didn't get to hear Kayla say this live, but I saw somebody on Twitter interacting with her from the morning show. Kayla said the idea of taking risks on injured players in the draft, but then not paying them after the fact because they have injuries, and then they turn out to be A.J. Brown or Jack Conklin, because you can build through the draft, but at some point you have to have a retention rate. And I know we're playing the results, and maybe the money on Conklin did not make sense at the time. And I mean, are you shocked that we made it 35 minutes into the show without us saying A.J. Brown's name? Because he is so far from all the things that I'm looking at as problematic here that I think AJ's just like AJ's not the knife. AJ's the twist.
But I am
when the knife's already in your side.
Every time that comment from Vrabel from the Rich Eisen show comes up, I want to put the proper context on it. Because Vrabel did not go on the Rich Eisen show and say A.J. Brown will not play for another football team.
He was asked if A.J. was on the trade block, and what he said was not as long as I'm the head football coach.
Which was true. A.J. was never on the trade block. He requested a trade. It got to that point, and it wasn't, he's on the trade block, I'm taking calls. Who wants
I know what we were told. Okay? And I know what A.J. said about it, and they're not the same thing. He very much out there yesterday. Hell, I saw Giardi. Giardi was at the game. Our buddy Mike. We should ask Giardi to be on the show tomorrow. And honestly, I mean, like, I don't think it'll happen, but it's worth asking because Phil's saying, hold people accountable. John Robinson does not have to speak to the media. It's not contractually obligated the way that Mike's media availability is. We can ask for John to be on the show, and I mean, let's do that. I think I'll text that today because I do think that. I mean, this crossroads conversation matters because it involves him too. And I'm not saying I wouldn't volunteer myself to talk to people like that. Sure as hell not as often as Mike has to. But there's only so many times that you can put Mike's voice on the problems that they're having when he does not have roster control. He doesn't have roster control. I'm not saying that Mike could foresee injured players or they would be better with. I have no idea whether that would help or not. But the root cause of the problem is the roster. And there have been a domino effect about how this roster came to be and what its ceiling is even when it's right. That there are some legitimate questions about. So we'll make that request. And, John is, to his credit, John's always been pretty responsive to that stuff, so we'll talk to the team PR, at some point after the show today. 615-737-1045 is the number. Bam in Nashville is next.
What's good, my boy?
A lot.
Yeah, I know,
guess.
man. As a diehard fan, bro, I honestly don't know how to feel, man. And you really hate getting to this place because if you look at Derrick and if you look at those guys, they almost just kind of look like the life has been sucked out of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be a different answer for this, man. Like, and when Mike said, okay, we got to make changes immediately, I'm like, okay, well, we turning this, we at this crossroad. Man, the crossroad starts with the O-line. It starts with Todd Downing. It's like, man, something's got to change here, man. And it's got to change now because we tired of seeing a one-and-done situation. Like, okay, we're going to get to the playoffs. We know that. All right, cool. Who are we going to play first? Whoever, whatever the lowest seed is or whatever, however it is. I mean, we may see a Titans team turn around. You still are kind of optimistic that they still may, pull one out. But the way they're playing right now, it's just kind of like, man, why get your emotions up that high or go buy playoff tickets and then you just gonna turn around and get beat at home and be one and done? You feel me? That's like a waste of time to me, man. I don't know, but to each his own, brother.
No, I mean, listen, you're articulating a lot of the things. Because so you know what kind of crystallized that for me yesterday? Did you, Lucas? I don't know what time. Stop talking to him, Robert. Lucas, what? Did you watch any of Chiefs Bengals?
Yes.
Cincinnati beating the Chiefs like that at home, but beating the Chiefs again, because they beat the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl last year as a 10-7 team. Beat the Chiefs again. Looked pretty good doing it. Do you have any confidence that a Tennessee team could do that right now? At home, road, whatever.
To Kansas City?
To Kansas City, to Cincinnati, to Philadelphia. Who are the other winning teams? So Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Washington. Who am I missing? I think that's it. Teams with winning records that they've played.
Okay, yeah.
They're 1-4 in those games.
Yeah.
You have any confidence that the Titans right now could do that to any of those teams as presently constructed?
No, because we're fresh off that performance from last week, but this same Titans team, in some ways, a more shorthanded Titans teams, in many ways, on offense, went to Kansas City and was a player or two away from doing just that.
Yes,
so,
but that was their peak, right? Jeff was still playing at a high level. Danico was out there. They didn't have Tannehill, but that they were coming off Derrick and the rushing game were working well. Since then, by the way, it's gone to hell.
Yeah, so I don't know what the explanation is here other than they're just playing worse because the pieces haven't changed that much. And
in fact, they've improved defensively.
Didn't Jeff miss that game?
Jeff missed Denver.
Okay.
He missed it because he got hurt in Kansas City.
That's
Denver.
right. That's right.
So that's what I'm looking at. So that was it felt like their Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you think about how one-dimensional they were in that game. They were still able to run the football. Derrick Henry it's the last time. Well, no, Green Bay was the last time he was truly effective.
It was not as much. I mean, Derrick was more effective, and Derrick did a lot in the Green Bay game. I mean, he threw a touchdown pass. He ran for another touchdown pass. Green Bay's not a good football team.
He averaged about 7 yards per carry against Kansas City.
They had more opportunities. Yesterday was 2.7. And let's hear you'll hear from Derrick Henry coming up next on that, because we looked around and had a conversation about it in the press box last night. Is it Derrick or is it something else? And you'll hear from Derrick Henry on that. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. That's what the Travis Tritt song is supposed to sound like, as opposed to whatever the hell Robert Walsh did in front of the microphone earlier. Dennis, you gonna sing this when Dennis Daly walks out that door?
Got on with my life.
All right, get out of here. Now he harmonizes pretty well. I'll give him that.
Hey, listen, I do everything pretty well. You find one thing I don't do well besides wiping, and I'll agree with you.
A radio show based on how that last segment just went. You weren't ready for that, were you?
I was not. You're very hurtful. Very hurtful.
You know what else is hurtful? Watching Derrick Henry be miserable at the podium last night. I mean, I felt bad for two people in football yesterday because these are the only two games that I saw parts of. Covered the whole Titans-Eagles game, felt bad for Derrick Henry after the fact. And frankly, Ryan Tannehill. Watched the fourth quarter of the Colts game, felt bad for Matt Ryan because, oh my God, 33 points in a quarter. What the hell is that? That's a different kind of feel bad. So, here is Derrick Henry's per-game rushing average since Kansas City. Lucas pointed out that he had averaged 7 yards a carry in that game, and that was the last time that we've seen Derrick look that kind of effective. Since then, they have played now 4 games, okay? They played the Broncos in Week 10. They had the short week before going to Green Bay for Thursday Night Football. And then they played the Cincinnati Bengals at home before going to Philadelphia yesterday. Derrick Henry against the Denver Broncos averaged 2.8 yards per carry, 19 attempts, 53 yards. Then you go short week to Green Bay. He has a better game. He plays better. He does more, right, because he has to throw a touchdown pass. He rushes for another one. Derrick looks like he gets a little more right, and you feel, okay, something. But do you remember what Derrick Henry's rushing total was in that game off the top of your head?
Say that which game again?
Green Bay, where you said he played well in Green Bay.
86, 85, something in that range.
So he had, okay, I almost made a very big mistake by reading the first quarter stats.
Yeah, he was really effective in that game. He had over 80
not,
yards. He had over 40 receiving yards, had a touchdown pass. That was the last time Derrick Henry was productive, was Thursday night in Green Bay.
Right, and what would you consider a productive yards per carry average?
Oh, for Derrick Henry, that's tough because he's such a volume ball carrier.
But I'm saying, like, by efficiency, by things that would help that running back be good, because he's getting help in front of him, because he's not getting hit at the line of scrimmage, because he's not having to earn all of his yards after contact more than any other running back in football this year. What would you say is a good rushing average for Derrick?
3.5.
3.1.
That's what he had in Green Bay, 3.1.
28 for 87.
Yes, but
his longest run was 9.
He did enough for the Packers to sell out to stop the run, and the Titans were able to take advantage.
Understood. And it hasn't looked like that since then, because against Cincinnati, it dropped back down. Because coming into that game yesterday, he was averaging 2.8 yards per carry. And again, yesterday, he had 2.7. They can't do anything with the thing that is supposed to be their greatest source of identity. 615-737-1045. 17 for 38, like the Fetty Wap song. It was my whole senior year spring break. That's probably a reference that maybe a third of the audience got. 2.2 yards. 2.2 yards per carry for Derrick Henry. That's worse than I thought. I thought it was 2.7. It's 2.2. I'm sorry, that's the Bengals game. 2.7 last night, 2.2 against the Bengals. That was the truly ineffective Derrick Henry game. Scott in Springfield is next. Hey, Scott. Hey, Scott.
Yo.
Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Hey, I agree with that gentleman that called in earlier. John ought to have to address the media after every game, especially the losses. I mean, you know, we had something clicking with Henry and AJ, and, I mean, it was so obvious. I mean, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but come on now. You've got the greatest guy on the team, and you let him go, and you keep that lineman that I won't call his name that stays hurt half the time, and they brag or talk about he's the highest paid lineman. And where's he at? And he's creating penalties when he does play. I mean, it's just, I don't know what else to say about it. It's obvious, but yet they can't fix it.
Thanks for the call, Scott. So, Lawan catching strays out there. I bet you really like him if he was out there, though.
I didn't think we'd be talking about Lawan penalties today.
I did not think that. Well, hey, you know what? It's everybody's fair game after a loss like that. Even the guy who's been on the couch since week 2. Not even week 2. Snap 1 of week 2. Oof. John's never going to speak after every game.
No GM is.
No GM. I don't think most general managers don't talk as often as John does. That's a real thing. Now, depending on which organization you're a fan of, maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. But, John is more available than the average NFL GM. And you don't, unless they do something catastrophic like Vic Beasley or Isaiah Wilson, you're not going to hear from that guy in the middle of the season. Unless it's that kind of bad. Because releasing Dennis Daly right now, I don't think that would warrant a press conference. They just put LaRaven Clark out there. They put Dylan Radins out there, and they try and figure it out. How about Liam in Las Vegas? Hey, Liam.
Hey, yes. I had tickets for the SoFi game with the Chargers, but I just put them up for sale because this team is not worth the Titans are not worth the watching. I mean, they're imploding, and J Rob's what's that saying? The chickens that come home to roost. With his draft picks and his failure to sign A.J. Brown. So I just think this team's, I'm just looking forward for the draft again. So that's all I got.
Thanks for the call. So we haven't talked about A.J. Brown yet. We're going to do that again. I mentioned you're going to hear from Derrick Henry. We're going to do that next as well because both of them obviously spoke to the media last night. There's a couple of different things that Liam brought up that I think are worth discussing. We'll take more of your phone calls as well. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11:01. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans lost their second straight matchup to the Eagles 35-10 at Lincoln Financial Field yesterday. Jalen Hurts, 29 of 39 for 380 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Derrick Henry limited on Sunday, 11 carries for 30 yards. Mike Vrabel will speak to media. That's coming up at noon, and you can hear it live right here on the Buck Rising Show. The college football playoff is set in stone. Georgia, the 1 seed, unsurprisingly, after beating LSU in the SEC championship game. Michigan coming in at number 2, and they will play third-ranked TCU, who gets in despite losing in overtime in the Big 12 championship to Kansas State. Ohio State, the 4 seed, to take on Georgia in the semifinal. Tennessee will take on Clemson in the Orange Bowl. That game will happen in South Florida, December 30th. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Been off to a hot start this morning. We are not slowing down for the next 2 hours. That's how long you are here with us, and we are grateful for you doing so. Mike Vrabel going to speak at 12 o'clock today. We'll carry that live for you. Phone calls on the Titans' embarrassment against the Eagles last night, 35-10 at the link, 615-737-1045. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown. You'll hear from commentary from those two individuals here in just a moment. So we've been talking about the idea of, okay, Derrick Henry, they've struggled to get him going. 11 for 30 yesterday, you said in your update, Lucas? 11 for 30. Against the Bengals, 17 for 38. Against the Green Bay Packers, 28 for 87, 3.1. That's been a high over the last month. 19 for 53 against the Broncos, 2.8 yards per carry.
Not quite. He averaged 6.8 in Kansas City, which was less than a month ago.
When was the Kansas City game?
November 6th.
Today's December 5th.
Correct.
One day?
Correct.
They play one game a week.
For the sake of accuracy, brother.
What's Jalen Hurts' passing line again?
Jalen Hurts.
No, I'm doing that because you screwed it up in your update.
Did I say it was 280, wasn't it?
No, it was 380.
It was yeah, I said 380.
Yeah, but you stumbled through it, and I thought about jumping on you.
I did stumble through it.
All right, either way.
Jalen Hurts probably had his best game of the year, throwing the football.
That's a career passing game for him.
Yeah.
That's a career. You know how much he counts against the cap for?
Nope.
$1.6 million.
The luxury of a second-round pick, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Robert look up
is
for
confirming.
me. Look up for me how much Dennis Daly counts against the cap this year, if you would, please. How much the backup left tackle is making as opposed to the probable, after Patrick Mahomes lost yesterday, MVP. Is Jalen Hurts now the MVP frontrunner? I would have to think so. He's the quarterback of the best team in football who just went out there and kicked a team's ass, a playoff team's ass in the Titans, who's a division leader right now and will likely remain so because, oh my God, Colts and Jags, Texans, I don't even know what to do with anymore. That Browns game was so sad for what I saw what Deshaun Watson did not do and how the Texans lost that game to a bad Browns team. Oof. But anyway, Derrick Henry. We asked Derrick Henry about the inability to get going in the last month. And this is what he had to say at the podium. As frustrated as any of you or any of his teammates or any of the coaching staff who's looking around trying to figure out how to get this guy going too.
No, like I always tell you, I'm a worst critic, so, I evaluate myself about everything and anything possible, but I got to be a better leader. Small things, details, and making plays. I pride myself on being a playmaker for this team, and I feel like I haven't done that these last 2 weeks. So it's been tough and, adversity, but, you just got to stay positive through it and, continue to work and focus on improving, and then eventually I think everything happened for it. But right now, it's tough. Just to get 2 losses and haven't had success. So.
And he understands, just like Vrabel does, that crossroads comment we played for you early in the show, that it's at this point it's about their mindset, their mentality. How do you remain upbeat despite these beatdowns and these losses to teams who you're probably going to see again? Now, how things yesterday, we need to look at the standings probably tomorrow. Who's Monday Night Football tonight? It's an NFC game, so it doesn't matter.
It's NFC South, Saints Bucks.
So it doesn't matter for our purposes. So we could probably take a look at that by the end of the show, because they really, really needed to hang on to that 3 seed as the division winner, and likely at this point they're going to drop down to 4 if they haven't already. We'll update you on that later on, and what that means for their matchups, by the way, as they continue to hold serve in their division. But for Derrick's purposes, there's just so little he can do about his situation. He cannot physically will them to a win every time when he's the thing that everybody knows is coming. They have not done well enough to support him. Derrick Henry, I don't look at that average and see a player that's washed in the way that I think Philadelphia media was talking about this last night. I heard a couple of beat writers talking amongst themselves in the press box. They looked over and were talking about Derrick Henry's averages. Brandon Graham, there's a video going around. Did you see this video of Brandon Graham, the defensive end, beating his chest, pointing and filling media as they walked into the tunnel, saying, all y'all picked King Henry. And because me and Tehran are in the background of that video trying to get to the Mike Vrabel press conference, and Brandon Graham won't get out of our way because he's yelling at the Philly media about, you all picked King Henry. And since then, he hasn't looked very regal. But it's not even deflecting off a guy who I think is a favorable character in all of this. But he is a victim of his circumstance right now. Could he be better? Yes, but he cannot do the Green Bay thing all the time and be the only thing. They also needed the passing game to lift him up that way. 3.1 yards per carry is not a good Derrick Henry game. Larry is in Nashville up next. Hey, Larry, what's up?
Hey, guys, enjoy your show. Here's my deal on Derrick Henry. I think, without a doubt, he's one of the greatest running backs in the NFL. And if he was running behind the offensive line at the Dallas Cowboys, you'd see a total different gain in yards. But we got what we got. Our O-line is just pathetic and terrible. You can't take the greatest running back in the NFL and run him against a brick wall and expect him to gain yards. My thing is, I don't understand why they don't utilize his speed on swing passes more out of the backfield and get him going one-on-one, and hopefully, along with the passing game getting better, they can open up better holes for him to run through.
They try that sometimes, Larry. It's not a staple of it because Derrick's just not a natural receiver. That's why he comes off the field. Although he was in on a 3rd and 10 yesterday, and we all looked around like, the hell?
They targeted him 3 times.
They don't have anybody else to throw to.
He caught 2 for 8.
That's not getting it done. And honestly, there are probably running backs. I'm sure McCaffrey gets more volume when he's healthy as a passer or as a receiver. I'm sure Kamara gets more volume when he's healthy as a receiver. But for the average running back, you're not throwing to the running back a bunch unless you're just hitting checkdowns. And Dontrell Hilliard's basically a receiver. They need him to be. They don't have anybody else that creates separation. So then there's the conversation about, okay, separation. Treylon Burks had it. They tie the game 7-7. An illegal hit on Treylon Burks concusses him, knocks him out of the game. We can debate the hit. The hit was hideous. That's the kind of thing that they're trying to remove from the NFL. You never want to see a player in a pile of himself unconscious.
And when it's on a touchdown like that, the 15 yards being applied on the extra point or kickoff,
it's trash.
Does nothing.
No.
It does absolutely nothing. The 15 yards should be applied on the offending team's next possession, in my mind. It's a touchback, 15 yards, they start the drive on the 5.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would agree with that absolutely.
You benefit none.
Yeah.
As the Titans getting 15 yards, that obviously didn't make a difference on who won or lost the game, but just in principle, in general.
Him getting knocked out did, because I think that now he is the more important player than Derrick. And I'm not saying better. I'm not saying that Derrick can't still be special. Derrick, I think, is still the best running back in football, even as Pirine looks like a monster right now. And Saquon has done great things this season. And, Miles Sanders is they didn't have a great game rushing the football yesterday, and still Miles Sanders made plays. There was an NFL poll on their Instagram story, by the way, who was going to have more rushing yards, Jalen Hurts or Derrick Henry. And I think, let me look at this. Let me double check.
No, Henry definitely had more. Hurts barely ran the ball. He had 5 carries for 12, and he just had the touchdown.
And Derrick had 11 for 30.
Yeah.
But still, I mean.
He didn't need to run the ball.
No, because I saw Keith Bullock say he was literally baking a cake back in the pocket. They got no pressure. And when they can't get pressure, when they can't kill teams like that, because they, to their credit, the defense, when it's right, is special. But the Derrick Henry thing, as your one go-to when Treylon Burks isn't out there to just draw some kind of attention and make big plays like he did yesterday. It's unfortunate that he knocked him out, but to make that catch is like I have not talked about A.J. Brown an hour and 11 minutes into the show because I don't think the A.J. thing is as egregious if Burks doesn't get the bleep knocked out of him yesterday. Now, A.J. having a good game it makes it hurt worse, but that's not the real problem. I think, though, Burks is more important right now to the success of this football team than Derrick Henry is. And I honestly felt that way about A.J. Brown last year after Derrick got hurt and they found ways to run the football anyway. Let's go to Dave in St. Louis. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate you and the show. My mindset is like everybody else. We're not going to be vying for the number 1 position. We're not going to get that by. And if we end up number 4 versus number 3, does it really matter? So my mindset is why don't we, if we can beat Jacksonville this coming Sunday, and if the Colts should lose, I think we treat the rest of the games almost like preseason. I think our only chance in the playoffs is if we get healthy. If our defense is fully healthy, if we get Burks and Kyle Phillips to see what he can do back, put Okonkwo on the field a little bit more, that's, I think, our only hope. But I know, you mentioned about Big Jeff not coming off because of contract and so forth, but to me, get him healthy, get ready for the playoffs and see what can happen.
You can't tell the guy don't try and make your money. I think that's such an underrated part of this because Tannehill had no business being out there as late as he did. But honestly, Jeff, for as little impact as he's been able to have lately, the only reason Jeff's out there is because Jeff wants to play and be out there. You can't tell the guy, hey, no. Because he's going to feel a certain type of way about it. It's $25 million or more a year on the line. And I know that doesn't necessarily benefit the overall success of the football team right now, but you cannot discount how important that is to these guys and to the people who deal with these guys on a contract basis. You don't want to rub another superstar player the wrong way around his contract. You're going to hear from the one that you did coming up next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
So, an hour and 20 minutes into the show, we've yet to talk about A.J. Brown's performance last night. It's been all about the Titans so far. Let's take a look at that wide receiver's performance, shall we? He was great in the postgame. Did you see the quotes coming out of there? It was, nobody seemed to relish that more than A.J. Brown. In fact, let's just hear the shortest of the clips, okay? Let's hear A.J. Brown. There's a initial touchdown called. It gets overturned because he's out of bounds. It ends up being an incomplete pass. A.J. Brown scores a couple of plays later on a touchdown. Ended up having 2 on the day, over 100 yards. He was spectacular. It felt like what watching A.J. Brown used to feel like. And A.J. Brown, after the first touchdown that was called off the board, was asked about the celebration that he was doing because he took the towel out of his waistband and started whipping the goalpost. What's the term for that? Stanchion, I think, is the term for like the goalpost itself. Starts whipping it with the towel, right? He's making a scene. He's whipping it with the towel. And he's asked about, okay, was there any significance of you doing that whipping deal in your choreographed, clearly, touchdown celebration after the one that got called off the board? Can I hear from AJ, please?
Today, I'm gonna have to give you this whooping. I still love you, though. That's what the hug came in at the end.
Today, I'm gonna have to give you this whooping, but I still love you, though.
Because he hugged the goalpost.
Oh, yeah.
After the whooping.
He said, still love you, but you're going to have to get this whooping today.
He gave you this is going to hurt me a lot more than it's going to hurt you. Psych!
And then he killed them.
Yeah, God.
He killed them. I physically saw him take Trey Avery's life on the field. Big boyed Christian Fulton so bad that he got a groin injury. I mean, there are videos now circulating of the Titans owner's box, and I've just retweeted it for those of you who want to see it, at Buck Rising on Twitter. So owners have a box at the game. Normally they come with a fair contingent, right? They got people around them. They got family members. They got friends. They got people they want to impress. They take them to a game. I'm an NFL owner. I got a box. Come watch the Titans and the Eagles with me, shall we? I wonder what they thought when Eagles fans, after A.J. Brown's second touchdown, turned around to the open air Titans owner's box, went double middle fingers, a whole row of them in front of them, and just screaming, thank you so much for trading A.J. Brown to us with the birds up in the air and not the green kind. A.J. and John Robinson and the Titans as an organization have 2 different stories on how that dude ended up in a Philadelphia uniform. He's saying he did everything he could to be there. I don't necessarily take him at his total word because I know the contract offer, the initial offer that he told Tehran that went viral in that ESPN report after he ended up being traded, it was right after the draft, was what he considered to be a low offer. Now, I don't know if that was the initial offer and he took significant offense and that's when things started to ramp up. But A.J. Brown's position is that he wanted to remain a Titan and they basically showed him the door. That is as close to a fireable offense as you will find in this NFL offseason. Because there's been a couple of transactions this year. So what do you consider to be fireable offseason occurrences that happened in the NFL? 615-737-1045. Trading for Matt Ryan is literally a fireable offense. Cost Frank Reich his job because of how much input he has on the quarterback. The GM is still there, which is the weird part. But a literal fireable offense, Matt Ryan with the Colts. Somebody has to get fired for giving Russell Wilson $250 million. They lost again yesterday to Robert's terrible Ravens.
Someone will get fired, and they're just going to keep on chugging with Russ.
Oh, yeah. No. Again, multi-level fireable offense. $250 million for a guy who still has 8 touchdown passes on the season? Did he not? He didn't throw a touchdown pass against the Ravens yesterday.
They scored 9 points.
10-9. What a disgusting football game. And that, by the way, there is a scenario where the Ravens end up here in the playoffs, and we can talk about that with Robert here in a second. Third has to be A.J. Brown on that list. I mean, it has to be. That guy, you go from Corey Davis and Derrick Henry to Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry to just A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and the ghost of Julio Jones And now it's just Derrick Henry out here like the Will Smith in the Fresh Prince meme. After everybody's moved out the house, he's looking around, looking for somebody. All that's left is the carpet and him. And you see how this offense has suffered for it because the offensive line has not been better. It's gotten worse. The skill position players, they haven't been replaced. And Treylon, circumstances that are beyond his control. Turf toe and a concussion. He's just not been available to them to make up for something. Kyle Phillips, I forgot the dude was on a team. I had somebody tweet me, a little white guy for Green Bay, 18, their returner. They said, did somebody trade Kyle Phillips to the Packers? Isn't that what to the Eagles? Isn't that what Kyle Phillips is supposed to look like? I forgot that guy existed.
Talking about Stoll?
Yeah. So with the AJ thing, it ends now. You don't have to hear it anymore. But on the level of violations made by personnel people in the NFL this year, it's probably Russ 1, Matt Ryan 2, A.J. Brown 3. Let's go to Ty in Mount Juliet has been waiting a while. Hey, Ty.
Hey, what's going on, Buck?
Talk to me.
Man, the AJ thing is, we got to move on. I understand it. We can kill him, but John Robinson, at the end of the day, anybody that's a Titans fan, has done far and away more for this team than bad.
I'm not saying that at all, but this is an egregious error. This is the kind of stain on a resume that does not go away, and we're only discussing it because of who they played yesterday.
Understood, and I get it. But here's the thing: looking forward, we have a playoff team, and my question is, what do you think the odds are? There's a guy like Frank Reich sitting there that has taken a team that lost the MVP right before the playoffs to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. He has the acumen, he has the pedigree, and he's sitting there unemployed, and we could absolutely use some creativity.
It's never going to happen. Ty, it's never going to happen. You know what else Frank Reich had that year? Do you remember that Philadelphia team?
Yeah.
The best offensive line in football. Frank Reich could not do any better with this offensive line group. I mean, I'm not saying that he's not a superior option to Todd Downing, and we can have that discussion in the offseason. They are not going to be able to do anything with this offensive line group. That's just flatly it.
So don't try. So don't try. Something?
You think they're going to just hire Frank Reich in the middle of the season? Have you seen the Bill Belichick quotes coming out of their offense today on New England Sports Radio? How disruptive it would be to do something like that? Teams don't do this. I'm not saying that it's not something that you can't dream about. It's never going to happen. And I just, I just don't think there's any life to it other than fantasy.
The other thing that the NFL needs to do is when somebody takes out a player with a personal foul, if it results in a concussion, the way they treat concussions now, you ought to be able to pick a player on their team and say, you're out the rest of the game. Because 15 yards, you can give them all the 15-yard penalties in the world, whether it's on the ensuing possession or whether it's on that possession. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're not. We benefited from it when Cyprian took out Kelsey a few years ago.
Absolutely.
You got to be able to hit them where it hurts. If they're going to be able to do that, you got it.
What, Ty? No, you can finish through the music.
You can finish your thought,
You
Ty.
can finish through the music. It's okay. It just
infuriates me. Treylon Burks is a great player. Take him out. That's the game, period.
Thank you very much for the call. You're right, by the way. They have the power to toss that player, 22. I don't have my flip card in front of me. I don't remember 22's name, the defensive back for Philadelphia. Thank you, Ty. I appreciate the call. Yeah, don't be scared of the music. Just go.
Epps.
Just keep going. Epps is the last name?
Marcus Epps.
Marcus Epps. Yeah, they have the ability to toss that player out. Did you hear what Mike Vrabel had to say about it afterwards?
He kind of just pointed you guys to the officials, right?
He said,
"Ask them."
You know what the NFL's the refs' Twitter handle is? At NFL officiating. Go ask him. Because he's not going to take that fine. It's got to be frustrating for him because he's on the competition committee.
I mean, it was the exact hit that they want out of the game, right?
Oh, it's Adam Humphries a couple of years ago. Like the Titans have had multiple of these. Khalif Raymond against the Saints. That changed the game.
Like this was textbook on a scoring play, defenseless receiver, launched himself, led with his head, like every single box.
Yeah, no, they could have bounced him. They could have easily bounced him instead of 15 yards and forced on the kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, that is an absolute joke. That is such a joke of a penalty.
Let's go to Robert in New Kent, Virginia. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Buck, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Hey, man, I'm going to tell you, I had to laugh my tail off, man. When you said it broke down about all the receivers and stuff like that, and Derrick just left out there by himself.
I mean, that's what I'm watching.
I fell out, man. I fell out.
That's what I'm watching every week, Robert. What you got for us?
I fell out. Man, and this is perfect because I want to say, man, that even though the offensive line we have problems and we're doing this, man, Derrick did everything for us and all that kind of stuff, man. All I want to do is I want to do another Mufasa to Simba ratio when Eddie had a talk with Derrick. I want to see one more of those, and if he can spark something in it one time, just for him to get going again, and Derrick go out there and say, offensive line, everybody, get out of the way. If you don't get out of the way, I'm running down your back, and I'm running down everybody else's back. And we're going to take it over.
Hey, Robert, no, I'm with you, but
I want to see it one more time, man. One more time.
What if I told you, Robert, that I think we've already seen it? I think that was Houston and Kansas City.
Well, yeah.
Because I think
right.
everything that's happened since then is because of the way that it's going. I'm serious. Like, I think we might have already seen that kind of a thing. Thank you for the call. 615-737-1045 is the number. Yeah, the Derrick thing is that's the biggest problem. Like it's a I almost said a bad word. It's a terrible time to have an identity crisis if you're this football team. And this Jags game, I mean, I know Trevor Lawrence did he get carted off? I know he came back and played.
It was a bad looking injury, and they said Lawrence to the locker room, but honestly, that was one of the final plays of the first half. He went to the locker room before everybody else, and then came back out with the team in the second half. Played the rest of the game. They got blown out.
I saw
run off the field in Detroit.
By Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit's won 4 or 5.
Well, and they have offense this year. Yeah, this Jags game is as important as any, and this is gonna be the discussion, right? Mike we had Titans PR sending us stats about Derrick Henry's December, rightfully so. December and January with D. Hember. We had a whole bull bleep conversation about it last week. D. Hember right now looks like 2.2, 2.7, and 3.1 at its peak. Woof. And he eats against the Jags. It's not a pushover game. Because they are clearly and obviously the best of their division, but I don't know how big the gap is between these teams. They have an advantage. They have better coaching. They have better players right now. They have a quarterback who's more stable than Trevor Lawrence is at this point in his career, even if Trevor Lawrence will ultimately have a higher ceiling. I have no idea what Trevor Lawrence will go on to be. But, man, the Derrick get-right conversations will start this week, and I don't know how I feel about that when every other year I have never felt any kind of doubt in my mind, no matter what they looked like at any given point about Derrick against Jacksonville.
Other than Houston, Derrick Henry's had the most success against Jacksonville.
Yeah. No, Houston and, divisional opponents, he tends to play with his food a bit out there, and then he just steals their soul. But I'm telling you, it's a different kind of year because he can't do it by himself. So we'll see what happens with, Treylon Burks with the concussion is it doesn't matter if that guy gets tossed out because the hit happens, right? Like it's done. And to the earlier call, it was a tie earlier that brought up the playoff game, the Marcus Mariota miracle touchdown pass to himself game. Yeah, they lose that game if Travis Kelce plays. And Cyprien killed him.
I feel for Burks, man.
Oh, I feel terrible for him.
Poor guy can't even enjoy a touchdown. His first career touchdown is landing on a fumble that he comes off the field saying that was my fault because it was my guy that had the strip. And then his second career touchdown, he gets knocked out on the way down. And I think he legitimately went unconscious before he hits the ground. That's what it looked like.
Which makes it even more strange. Like
I don't know how he held on.
Well, and I have no idea whether this happened or not, but it almost makes my mind go to a place like Tua where your body just locks up. Like, I don't know if, I don't know anything. That would just be pure speculation if I was to say that he got hit so hard that he locked up and held the ball that way. But, it defied any other explanation that I saw. Scott is in Clarksville up next. Hey, Scott. Hey, Scott.
Young Chuck.
Is it Chuck? Yeah. Are you in Clark? Oh, yeah, Chuck in Clarksville. What the hell, Lucas?
Hey, Buck.
Hi, buddy.
Hey, on this Sky is Falling Monday, Do we have an over and under on the you up calls on AJ today, or we just kind of winging it today? Because I think we'll have. I think we're already over on that. The only thing I can suggest on the Titans is, we're going to have to find some way to run when we're supposed to pass when we're supposed to run. We're just not teams. We can't get in that trenches and just impose our will this year. So we're going to have to find some way to mix it up enough where they can't just come up and know what play we're running and come after us.
I agree with that assessment only, though, as of late, because they were the more physical team when it came to defense. And that has evaporated with Jeff's injury and Danico's injury. Because Bud Dupree, I mean, he had the penalty on Edwards was trash. The penalty on Bud I thought was fair for roughing the passer. But Bud continues to make those effort plays out there. Like that strip sack, I know the Eagles recovered it, but it was a critical third down. Like they've got life out there. They can't brutalize teams without Jeff Wright and without Danico out there the way that they have been. That again is the secret sauce, right? Pressure with 4, always in games. Bother the quarterback, disrupt the quarterback, turn the ball over, get favorable field position, put your offense in a place to succeed and capitalize in the red zone. They had one touchdown yesterday, came from 25 yards out. Their other red zone opportunity they squandered because shout out Dennis Daly, false start, then a sack. 1 of 5 allowed on Ryan Tannehill, 1 of 9 pressures allowed by Dennis Daly and Aaron Brewer on the left side of the ball. By the way, Nick Petit-Frere was not good in that game either. It was really it was Ben and it was Nate. And those guys, I mean, 2 of 5, you cannot have success. You simply cannot. And Sky is falling Monday. I mean, he's right, but like this is the coach is saying they're at a crossroads. It's not me. Now Mike's tone is not what mine is. But can I hear the crossroads audio again, please, from Mike Vrabel last night with us in Philadelphia? This was Mike Vrabel talking about what he said to the team before he came in and met with us.
Well, I mean, I think we're at a crossroads. I told the team I think we're at a crossroads and kind of how we, want to continue down this season. And we can't point fingers. We have to assume that each and every one of us didn't do a good enough job because we didn't. We have to come to work with greater energy and greater resolve to prepare to win a football game against a division opponent. And it sucks losing. It sucks getting beat the way we did. But we have to, we got to make a decision. How much are we willing to invest and trust in what the coaches are doing, trust in what each and other players are doing. So I think it's a critical time for us.
Now, it's not quite it's not skies falling. Certainly not that. And it's not what my tone has been today. But I don't take those words from Mike lightly. Because he's looking around and saying, all right, we can tuck it in. We can say, oh my God, our left tackle's terrible. We can say, oh my God, Jeff Simmons can't get pressure. He's on a bum ankle. We can say, oh my God, how am I supposed to play wide receiver, or how am I supposed to get wide receiver play a passing game with Robert Woods who can't separate, an NWI who makes plays from time to time, but it's just not consistent enough. He's saying, yeah, we've got to further entrench ourselves in this belief. Because belief is what they're clinging to, belief in themselves, sticking together, company lines that do mean something to this team. I don't take that lightly. But I'm also sitting up there looking at this, having covered them this season and having covered them in seasons past, look around and saying, okay, but what beyond belief do you have to offer me? We'll take more of your phone calls on this. You're going to hear from Kevin Byard. Mike Vrabel's going to speak in 20 minutes. We'll carry that live after he's watched the film. I'm sure there will be more thorough assessments there. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. Mike Vrabel going to speak in 13 minutes. We'll carry that press conference live. Obviously, there's been a lot to discuss today. Titans fall to the Eagles 35-10 at the Link. Lucas and I just back this morning from Philadelphia, and we've been talking about this thing all day long. Your phone calls are welcome, 615-737-1045. So you've heard from Henry. You've heard from Mike Vrabel. Let me hear from Kevin Byard, because we caught up with KB for about 2 minutes in the postgame locker room. Thank God for him, because there are so few people who are willing to talk as openly as Kevin is. And I don't know why that is, but I'm appreciative for him, and this is what he had to say.
Well, you know, it's December football. You're talking about wanting to play in the postseason and making a late season run. We can't lose any more games. That's kind of how I see it. We have to find a way to get this thing back rolling. We got to string together some wins. We got to get back to work. We don't really look like a good football team right now. And it's going to be up to us as players, coaches, leaders, everybody to figure out what it is that's not working right now and get rid of it and start playing winning football.
So, I mean, what I guess are they going to get rid of? They can't get rid of anything. They need things. It's not, I mean, getting rid of bad mojo maybe, but they can't protect. They can't rush. They're giving up explosive plays again. The rookie wide receiver concussion is huge. They can't run the football. And, like, for people who want to fire offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators, what do you expect them to do? Like, we had a caller bring up, can you hire Frank Reich for the postseason? This is my version of hell, okay? Because it's now turned into, is Malcolm Butler off IR? Like, can Bill O'Brien be hired by the Titans in the middle of the season from Alabama, since Nick Saban, it seems like, outside of being a used car salesman on television all weekend long, which we have to talk about at some point, probably go college football heavy tomorrow.
Yeah, he had to stoop pretty low this weekend.
Oh, my God. Every show. Like, even the ESPN, like, Twitter streamed show.
Saban out here groveling.
The Urban Meyer Nick Saban interview on the Fox halftime show was laugh out loud funny to me. Anyway, we'll have time to talk about that tomorrow. So, you know, Kevin Byard is saying we got to come together. You know, they had a players-only meeting after Buffalo. They figured it out. They won 6 games. But they can't get rid of bad health. And beyond that, like, I don't know what the solutions are there. So we'll hear what Mike has to say about it in a second. Let's get to some phone calls. Ed calling us from New Jersey, where we were very, very close to as of this morning. Hey, Ed.
Hey, Buck, I think I saw the reflection of your pink outfit on yesterday.
Well, it looked great. By the way, I looked great yesterday. Like, I don't normally say that.
You did.
Lucas tells me I try too hard. I looked great yesterday. Thank you for the compliment, Ed.
Yeah, I feel like you say that all the time.
Well, I do.
All right, so I am in a minority with my following statement, but let me finish my thought, and I'll ask you a couple questions on it. So I feel, and still feel to this day, that trading A.J. Brown because of the situation, the way they got it, and not paying him, I am okay with. And I am still okay with it despite yesterday's disaster. Let me ask you an honest question, and all Titans fans, honest question here. How much better would this team be right now if he was on the team and Burks wasn't? Would we be a 3 seed? Would we win a playoff game?
Well, wait, Ed. Can I ask you a follow-up?
Yes.
They did that last year, and they were the 1 seed.
I get it, but he did not make a difference.
No. Ed. It makes all the difference. We're talking about screwing around and being, because I get your point, but like, they were the 1 seed. He was more important when he came back. He almost single-handedly beat San Francisco on Thursday Night Football. Like, it's a much different conversation.
Absolutely. And I'm not taking away his greatness. I really not. But if you look at this team, and this is my second question, you look at all the holes that you spent most of your show identifying, and correctly so. They need at least 2 picks or an investment on the offensive line. They don't have a number 1 corner, despite what people want to praise Christian Fulton. Good player, but not a true number 1. They've got holes on this team. Would you rather have an upcoming Burks at his salary, or would you rather have $25 million on the books with A.J. Brown going forward, knowing the holes that you have? Potentially pay A.J. and not pay Simmons. I mean, or cut Derrick Henry. How many teams can pay a quarterback $40 million, a running back $15 million, and a wide receiver $25 million, and pay your 2 edge rushers top money? There's decisions that have to be made if you're going to pay a guy $25 million at wide receiver. I just think it's longer term. I think it'll work out better for him. That's just my opinion.
No, I appreciate the call, Ed. So Ed thinks that's an unpopular opinion. Shall I hold my beer him? I'd cut Derrick before I traded AJ. You're a way more important player right now. I think Burks is more important than Derrick right now. There's only so much Derrick can do. Like, we're seeing the limitations of that, Ed. And I'm not actively advocating. Again, the deal is done. Like, they botched it. They screwed it up. But if you're asking me you can't pay a running back 15, you can't pay a defensive tackle 25, you can't pay a quarterback. Well, Tannehill's got the highest cap hit at any quarterback in the league this year. It drops substantially next year, but there's still dead money. So you can't pay the quarterback, the running back, the wide receiver, and the defensive tackle, plus KB, Lawan, whomever. I would cut Derrick Henry before I traded A.J. Brown again. There's just no way that can be justified to me. And it's not just, is it a little prisoner of the moment? Hell yes. But I covered the guy's entire career here. And it reminded me very much of what that used to look like yesterday afternoon. When you have a passing game that can win that way. Now, they have a much higher level passing game than the Titans did with just AJ, but they had something closer. And that, to me, I think is the sticking point. Like, it's a domino effect. Decisions have been made that have this roster in a state of decay, as well as the health that they cannot avoid. So Mike Vrabel is going to speak to the media, and we'll get some more insight on yesterday's outing in particular coming up next.
It is 12 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans fall in Philly 35-10. The final, Jalen Hurts, 29 of 39 for 380 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. He added a rushing touchdown on the day as the Titans were outgained on the day outgained, doubled up in yardage in Philadelphia as they fall to 7-5. Head coach Mike Vrabel getting set to speak to media here in just a few moments. You can hear it live right here on the Buck Rising Show. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once and your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 3 off and rolling. Titans lose to the Eagles yesterday in Philadelphia. Mike Vrabel's at the podium right now. We go to St. Thomas Sports Park Live.
Is it offense, defense, execution?
Well, it's everything. And the point that I was trying to make and that I try to tell them is that you have to be playing your best football late in the season. And that's just what happens in the National Football League. There's all this jockeying for position. Some teams that, every year end up, with a really good record, and there's some other teams that kind of toil around and they're kind of figuring it out, but then they continue to improve. There's some teams that kind of go in the other direction. And we've always gone in the direction of playing our best football late and improving, and we have to find ways to do that. And so there is no one answer. It's not about one particular player. It's not about one particular side of the football. All 3 phases, and obviously coaching, we all have to be better.
Are lineup changes potentially on the table at this juncture?
Well, I think we'll look at everything. You only have so many guys at this point in time, with a lot of guys on injured reserve. We have guys that probably may or may not come back this week. We'll see where we are with Racy and Josh Thompson. Those guys could potentially be back. Their time is up, and Racy's been working hard to try to get back. So, we'll see where those guys are this week and what we can do with them.
You know what you want to be, but you sometimes have to look at it and say, we may not have the personnel to be that at this very moment.
Well, I think you're always trying to look at that. I think you have to find ways to, still stay balanced, still do things and make adjustments with who we have and looking at, whether that's defensively or offensively, how we have to give ourselves the best chance to win the game.
I understand that when you say it's not about one player because it's an 11-player thing, but if one player's not doing his thing or is consistently underperforming, isn't that a disservice to the other 10? And can't that hurt the team that way?
Yeah, I think that's always something that would not be beneficial. But I don't think that there's such a standout or such of, you have to look at who's going to be playing in there. You have to look at some of the things. It's not all bad with every guy that you're going to tell me isn't playing well. There's certainly some plays that we can't have if we want to win at some of the positions. So we have to make sure we're doing everything we can to get the guys in positions to understand and be able to do their job, and then find out if there's somebody else that we have that can help us better than that.
You kind of waved up a question about Dennis yesterday. You've gone through 16 defensive backs on the roster to find the right solution, but you plugged in Dennis when Taylor went down and haven't done anything else there.
I would say after yesterday there wasn't a solution in any phase. So I wouldn't say that we had any solutions in any phase. Speaking specifically for Dennis, there are, you can go through them. There's plays where I think it's he's doing his job, and then there's plays where we know we can't get beat inside. We're chipping for them, and you can't get beat inside. And critical error in 3rd and 1. We've had guys jump off sides before, but certainly in the red zone things are magnified. I think on one of the sacks that he gave up, had Josh Sweat at 10 or 11 yards at the top of the pocket. To me, anybody that's blocking Josh Sweat, if they block him at 10 yards at the top of the pocket, we're going to have to be able to step up. And guess what? The quarterback couldn't step up. So, yeah, those are things that, and then there were some other plays that aren't very good that, we had a backside cutoff on a 4-eye where, he butted him under the chin, his hands were inside, and he pancaked him. But there's when you play that position, there's some things that are glaring when you get beat. So he's going to work hard. The Ravens going to have a chance to compete, but that's who we got on the roster right now.
You mentioned the struggles over the last few weeks. Is that something where the opposition, is it what they're doing? What is execution not going right on your behalf? Like, what is behind the recent struggles?
In the running game, or what did you say?
The ground game, yeah.
Yeah, we have to find ways to create some space for Derrick. That when I tell you that he's a unique player, he is. But also coming with that is we have to find ways to create some space. We've got to get him. The X plays are coming. With him at the second level, and whether he tries the corner or not, that's on him. Like, we hand him the football. He decides to stay front side. Okay, great. Like, he decides to bounce it out on the corner. That's on him. We've given him the football. We have a lot of trust in him, and so that happens sometimes. But then other times there's got to be some space, and again, he's got to help us find that space, and so does the line, and so does the scheme. It's all connected, and I trust me, we're working hard to try to get it and try to figure it out. And try to get him going and get our offense going so that we can stay balanced and use all those things to help us.
With the lack of space that has been there for Derrick over the last 4 weeks, do you think your offense needs a shift in identity, and is that possible to do this late into the season?
I think you have to be careful. What identity would we want to go with is, I guess, the question. We have to understand what we think wins in this league, and I'm going to remind you that it's taking care of the football, it's running the football, and it's being efficient when you pass it. And those are the three things for the past 25 years in this league that has won. And so that's what I want our identity to be, because I know that that's what wins, and when we've won, we've done those things. And so maybe we could have run the ball a little better. We didn't turn it over. Neither did they. So we didn't do enough defensively. We clearly didn't affect their quarterback. We had a 90-some rating. He had 130. So that's what I stand by. That's what I coach and teach every day. And that's what I'm trying to get our team to do.
You talked about Clark earlier this year, Mike. I know you mentioned it's difficult for anybody, him included, to come in and jump into a lineup, after missing training camp off season. Has he had enough time now or that, things might change in that regard? That
Sure, anything could change right now. Yeah, just looking for ways to win a football game, and looking for ways to move the ball and score in the red zone and not be 0 for 2. Looking for ways to affect the quarterback and not give up X plays, and looking for ways to cover punts and punt better. All the stuff that adds up. But you guys just focus on a few little things, so I'm just going to try to look at the whole holistic.
You talked about the guys that were here with the Dennis and the options that are here. With those defensive backs, you had a ton of guys who are contributing here who weren't here. So I think my question is, why aren't you looking outside for offensive line help the way you looked outside for defensive back help when all of those defensive backs have done such a terrific job helping?
You have an option of finding guys on somebody's practice squad that you can poach. You have the option to sign guys off the street, which I don't know what would be there. We're looking for players that are there. We've signed a lot of guys off other people's practice squad that are playing for us. So at some point, we got to figure if the they're not playing for them, they're going to play for us.
Is Treylon at the start of the concussion protocol process?
He's doing well, I guess, if that's what you're asking. He's feeling well, and we'll see how he progresses through the week. But I'm happy to see him after the game, see him when we landed, see him this morning. So he's doing well.
You've been through this before, but how difficult does that make it when you've got a guy that you just don't know how it's going to look come Friday or Saturday and trying to prepare?
Everybody will have to prepare, as a starter. We saw that yesterday, and I think it's probably a good lesson learned by CJ and offensively, being ready to go if something happens.
Mike, you had the field goal penalty against the Bengals, and then you get another one this last week. Is that just guys trying to do too much?
No, I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. So to go out there and call safe block 2 weeks in a row and knock the shit out of the center and then jump off sides, I guess safe punt's going to mean line up a yard off behind the line of scrimmage and have 4 guys up there. I don't know, but we'll have to do something that's so utterly ridiculous to not get a penalty on a safe block.
Was the hit on Burks an ejection-worthy play?
I don't know. I think the league office handles that. I think Troy, Perry, and Walt handle those. So that's not done on the field. Again, you guys just reach out to them. I haven't gotten a response yet.
You talk about teams need to be playing their best ball this time of year in December. What gives you the confidence that this team can be playing its best ball?
Because that's our job. That's what we've always done. I'm confident in this staff. I'm confident in the players. To make sure that we figure out ways to win a football game.
You laid out some of the keys to running the ball, turnovers, throwing efficiently when you need to. There's been some teams around the league the last few weeks that have run the ball, and then the next week they've been almost all pass. Is this team built to do that if necessary to win a game?
I think we have to always find ways to give ourselves the best chance to win, and we don't, you get behind, you kind of run out of options, and you have to. We'll continue to search and find ways to, move the ball and, again, get some stops. It's all complimentary. It's hard to play defense in this league without getting turnovers. It's hard to drive the ball 85 yards to get touchdowns. You see last night the difference that turnovers make in short fields and defensive scores and special teams X plays.
He's got to get his head turned around on that PI call, but the league doesn't reward overthrows. Does the competition committee need to look at rewarding underthrows, which is something we've seen, I think, a lot of the last couple of years?
Well, there's been conversation about it, and again, they will if you get back and you're in phase. And I've noticed that they let some contact go if guys are in phase and they turn around and they're maybe pushing the guy. So, again, I think the only way to properly and consistently officiate it, this is just me talking, is that you have a standard, and the standard is if you're not playing the ball, that your contact is probably going to be penalized if the receiver does their job and makes an attempt to come back. I think that just so that it's consistent, everybody sees it and everybody says, "Yep." Unfortunately, that's DPI. Defender not playing the football, and a receiver going back and getting 2 arms across the shoulder pads of the defensive player. So, just so that there's not any egregious mistakes.
On the other side of that equation, offensive PI, right? When you look now that you've gotten to see it, the double move that AJ had on Christian Fulton. I mean, what is Christian supposed to do in that situation? Not sit on the route, or?
I think we could say he could get over there half a second sooner, and then he'd be entitled to that space. I still don't think it's going to get called. That's what they'll tell me, is that the defender's entitled to that space, and if the receiver runs into him, it's OPI. I think we all know that that's not going to be the case. So play more physical, and play more physical as a receiver for us too. When we're doing it, because that's just what it's going to be. The OPIs, it's not getting called.
A couple guys
little bit earlier. Anything in particular that you noticed that they were getting a few of those good returns on yesterday?
What'd you think?
I don't know if there's anything in particular, but it wasn't good enough.
We only thought that 3 of the 7 punts were of adequate hang time. So, when we choose to bang it down the field, which we feel like that's a strength of Stoney's got to do his part. And the ones that towards the end of the last 2 that he put, were 4-6, 4-7 hang time, looked like we went down and covered them proficiently. It just puts too much stress. And again, we could cover better. We have to cover better. We can't guarantee that it's going to be a 5-second hang time. And we've been through this. You have to keep running. The first guy's got to try to come to balance and make the guy go lateral or make the play, and then, cast a net, get everybody in some lanes, and not let them bounce outside or, stretch and cut. So it starts with a better punt, and then obviously the net coverage has to be better.
Preaching togetherness as kind of the solution to the downturn. I understand the importance of that, but is togetherness the thing that? How does togetherness make up the gap in skill and execution that we've seen the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think we always want to start with doing things together, and when you hit a rough patch or you go through a tough week personally. You get around people that you care about and that you trust. I think that's important. Not straying away and getting in small groups. I think you try to get together in large groups and figure out ways to help. And I think that's when you take that approach in all 3 phases, you get 11 guys working together. Sometimes the plays look a little better, and the communication, the coverage. Whether you're in combination coverage and that works a little better, or you're working up front and finding ways to help each other, or offensively finding ways to let whatever the play is, marry off. There's guys that have jobs of getting over the top, guys underneath, whatever it may be, in the run game. So it's just kind of what we've always tried to do around here, and not let guys stray and splinter. And everybody's going to have an opinion, and the one that matters is the one that's best for the team here with everybody doing it together.
You mentioned Racey, but you didn't mention Kyle. Is he still rehabbing and trying to do
Yeah.
What is Racey's challenge if he does come to practice after not practicing since August?
So I think that the challenge, Jim, is that we are conscious of Racey's, overall, body. I think that making sure that he's recovered from his injury, but then also that we're just not, the volume doesn't get thrown on him because he's doing special teams and receiver, and he may be, his hip may feel better, but at what cost to other soft tissue? So we just want to make sure that as we work his way back and return to play, that he can handle that volume, because when he was rehabbing, don't feel like he was able to, do things that he would normally be doing to maintain his speed or that force or the power that Racey has.
In terms of
So I'm conscious of that. That's what I'm trying to be careful of.
In terms of some of those things yesterday that the receivers had in the pass game, how much of that do you put on Ryan just not having enough time to get them the ball versus them not being able to get open?
It's the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I thought we protected well enough in the first half and not well enough in the second half. And there were some times where we had some clean pockets, and we have to be in spaces. We have to have spacing in zone coverage, and then we have to have route craft and man coverage. So that's it. All goes hand in hand.
Back on Racey for a second, do you need him more right now to help at receiver or on special teams if he's going to be limited in the number of snaps he can play?
I think we'll just kind of see how that goes and how he feels throughout the week.
How much confidence do you guys have in CJ, a receiver? What did you see from him kind of in those first exposure?
Well, I know that he worked extremely hard, with Rob to be ready. Had some, mistakes where, again, it's going fast and it's his first game action and with the game plan and things like that. So, thought he did okay. I thought there was obviously some plays and alignments and execution that he'd like to have back, and then I think he'll be better the more exposure he gets.
Is Chig kind of done to earn some more snaps out there, and then to kind of answer the challenge and be more productive out there too in those snaps?
Yeah, I mean, he's working hard and understanding. I mean, he plays special teams for us and plays offense, and you got to continue to find ways to get him the ball, and got to continue to find ways to have him help us in the run game. It's not just a situation where you put him in there and it's a pass that doesn't work for anybody. So to keep searching for ways to again stay balanced in what we're trying to do.
That's Mike Vrabel, Titans head coach, meeting with the media right there. 615-737-1045. We'll go through a lot of different things that Mike reacted to, and you can react as well. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
All right, how you want to do this? Because we got breaking news. A Titans transaction, a roster acquisition, being reported not by an NFL insider, but an agent, as a matter of fact. You gonna do the thing?
Just read it.
Okay. According to Kenny Zuckerman, who is the agent of Terrell Basham, former Cowboys defensive end, he is signing...
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
So you lulled me into a false sense of security there. I don't appreciate that. Terrell Basham signing with the Titans. You happy? It's a defensive end. It's not a left tackle. By the way, Eric Fisher just signed with the Dolphins. That is a left tackle. So they're going for pass rush as opposed to their offense, and that seems to be the way that they've doubled down. The reported deal at this point, Pelissero has some details, it looks like. No, I'm sorry. There are no details on the contract just yet. But according to his agent, Kenny Zuckerman, who is a partner and president of athlete representation at Priority Sports, Terrell Basham to the Titans. So.
Did you say practice squad or 53?
No, it's a 53.
Okay.
No, he's not on. He's just on. You talk about stray cats on the couch? That's a stray cat on defense. And that's... I don't know what that means for Danico because he's not on IR. So maybe that move is coming when this official transaction comes down, which would be problematic because if Danico Autry's done for the year, say, and they've had a Lawan situation where it took them a couple more weeks than it might otherwise to figure it out, that would suck. But adding a defensive lineman at this point, 615-737-1045. But as I mentioned, Adam Schefter reporting that Eric Fisher, the former number 1 overall pick, is signing with Miami. A corresponding move, they are placing offensive tackle Austin Jackson, who's been objectively terrible, on injured reserve. I added that myself, the objectively terrible part. Putting him on injured reserve per league sources. So, Dolphins are getting the right tackle, or the left tackle that many of you wanted, and you're getting a defensive end, which means what for Danico Autry exactly? We will find out. Go ahead.
Sorry, Fisher will be 32 in January, early January.
Dennis Daly's what, like 29? Does Eric Fisher? I want to see the details on Eric Fisher's deal because if Dennis Daly costs more than Eric Fisher, a 5th-round pick, what was traded for him, I don't know what the contract details are going to look like. We'll see. But there will be. It's not a good option. I saw Fisher play football for the Colts last year. It's not a good option.
Daly's 26.
Oh my God, Dennis Daly's only 26. Oof. Jared is in Pennsylvania. Hey, Jared.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy.
Called about when you guys were talking AJ trade time there.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to me like John Robinson's trying to channel his inner Bill Belichick here and get cutesy, not signing the big name guys and letting them, walk or get what he can for them. My only issue with that is he had cap-friendly Tom Brady to work with whatever receivers they had, and we have heavy cap Tannehill, who struggled with times with Corey Davis and A.J. Brown.
Well, that's not true. They were the third best offense in football that year. They were the best offense in Titans franchise history with Corey Davis, with A.J. Brown, with Derrick Henry, and Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, it was, 2 years ago?
20, yes.
Yeah. Last year they struggled on offense. Might have been one of the worst teams to be a number 1 seed ever.
Oh, for sure. But it was 91 total players, an NFL record for the amount of injuries that they sustained.
Yeah, that's to me, that's more a Vrabel thing than a John Robinson thing, isn't it?
Yo, sure. No, John has to find the players. So, and the players, I would say that Deontay Foreman, who got another NFL job out of that, Dontrell Hilliard got another NFL contract out of that. Buster Skrine got the opportunity to play more if he wanted to, retired. Cunningham is another one. These players have to be found, sure.
Yeah, but I guess
he's not AJ. It's not AJ, but yeah.
Yeah, but I guess my point was he seems to like to let the big name guys go to try to bring them in and replace them with the lower end guys.
Okay. Well, he paid Derrick Henry. He paid Taylor Lewan. He paid Kevin Byard. He paid Jarrell Casey. He paid Ryan Tannehill. He's going to pay Jeff Simmons, it seems like, maybe. They were going to pay A.J. something, not the money that he wanted. So, yeah, I mean, there's some of that, but it's not – I don't think that's a situation like Belichick. Yeah, they had the Tom Brady thing. Not everybody is Tom Brady with, at the time, his wife, Giselle, Giselle bringing in, I think, $70 million a year. She's got a coffee table book that goes for like $700 a pop. Life's a little different if you're the sole earner there, if you're the breadwinner in your situation by a substantial margin. So, yeah, I mean, they paid plenty of dudes, and they let plenty of other dudes walk. The A.J. thing got complicated, and that's it's a terrible mark. I'm not disputing that by any stretch of the imagination. But you could live without Corey Davis if you kept A.J. Brown. You could live without Jack Conklin if you Dennis Kelly is a null argument to me because Dennis can't get on the field for Indianapolis, and they're a terrible, terrible, terrible offensive line, just as the Titans are. So it's that I think is more prisoner of the moment than any other conversation we've had today. But I do appreciate the call, Jared. Dre in Madison is next. Hey, Dre.
Hey.
What's up?
Okay, this is my whole thing. Okay. First off, go Titans. Love your show.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, when it comes to what's going on, the controversy with A.J. Brown, the Titans, coaching, a general manager, don't want to pay people, all this, that, and other. My thing is, if you got something in this building and it's looking really good, the fans are loving it, and I'm talking about the A.J. Brown and the Ryan Tannehill connection. People have loved this and seen it building and growing and growing. If you're going to take A.J. Brown out of the lineup, I just feel, not you, I'm talking about, the Titans. If they're going to take him out and we're building as far as getting to the playoffs, we're getting wins, the fan base is growing, people love to see that deep pass. They love to see that long run, too. But basically, just to get back on subject, because I'm not trying to hog the time, if you're going to take A.J. Brown out, what are you going to put back in that equals what A.J. Brown was giving?
I appreciate the call, Dre. I mean, they tried, right? Burks. And he's not been available. It's as simple as that. Because that's what 50-yard, he had a 51-yarder against Cincinnati. He had a 25-yard touchdown reception. This last game, he has had big chunk plays. Like, that's there. It's not AJ. But AJ was healthy for his rookie year. He didn't start all 16 games, but he played all 16 games. And then his health tailed off after the fact. That's where things started to fray, and that became the whole narrative about AJ. Has AJ missed a game this year? I don't think he has.
I'll check. He's gone to the medical tent once or twice,
and he is on the precipice of eclipsing 1,000 yards. They put it up erroneously. They put it. I think they were expecting him to have an even bigger game because they put it up on the jumbotron in the link yesterday that AJ Brown is the first Eagles wide receiver to reach 1,000 yards in his first season as an Eagle. But he did not. It was too early. They put the wrong graphic up on the screen.
He's 50 yards away from breaking 1,000.
Because he had, 119 yesterday? 2 touchdowns?
He had 119 on 8 catches.
Yeah. So he's right there. It's an unfair comparison. It's the comparison that's going to be made for the rest of their careers. A.J. Brown and Treylon Burks. That's inescapable.
By the way, that's the most catches he's had in a game since week 1 when he had 10 against Detroit.
A.J.?
Yeah, he had 10 catches, 155 yards, week 1.
Yeah, so you let him have the second best performance of his season so far. I mean, by a number of different metrics, whether you want to look at catches. Like, he's had bigger yardage totals, but 2 touchdowns, 119 efficiency-wise, like he killed him.
Yeah, he averaged 15 yards per catch. In Pittsburgh, though, 6 catches, 156, and 3 touchdowns is...
It was a dominant performance. So we'll say top 3.
He's had a big year.
He's had a good year.
Put it that way.
Turns out Philadelphia's really good.
And he's a good football player.
Yes, he is.
Burks just can't catch a break, man.
No. And you brought up the touchdowns. Like, you're right. I didn't even think about it that way.
This guy celebrated touchdown.
He's pissed about the touchdown that he got, the first one, which is just a fumble recovery. He gets unconscious trying to make his first touchdown reception and does it in spectacular fashion. And then a penalty that, Mike Vrabel did address and say, you'd have to ask the NFL officiating about that situation because apparently he hasn't gotten a response back about that either. Mike in Hendersonville on the Titans. Hey, Mike.
Hi, gentlemen. I just wanted to kind of reiterate the point the gentleman made earlier about, trading away A.J. Brown, where we were headed as a team. And people are frustrated here because we tend to think like a mid to small market team, and we are a mid-market team still. We don't have pedigree of the Steelers or the Packers, but it looked like we were starting to build something, and then we just got cheap like we used to do in the past, where we would just let guys – it almost seemed like a few dollars. And so people were just frustrated watching the Titans build and build and build and then just undercut themselves with these moves. And we've seen it. You have to pay guys. And like you said, you've got, people like Lewan. We've paid Henry. Obviously Tannehill. Key guys. Well, where's Lewan? Dupree, paid him, but how many games has he been in this year? So we do have the injury factor, but then we've got to also just kind of continue down the path we had before, which is getting the right guys in and building something and thinking beyond mid-market. We got to start thinking we're a big city now because Nashville is a premier city. We need to start thinking like a premier team.
Well, you got to have premier ownership to overpay players, and this is not a cash flush organization. What the hell happened with the music back there? What happened?
It just wasn't potted down when I started it.
What's a pot? People don't know what that is.
One of these little button type things on the board.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know how to explain it.
What are you shaking your head about? What do you have to say?
Hey, let me pull up something. This is an audio medium. This is audio. Can't nobody see me shaking my head back here. One thing I don't like you dogging out my dog over here. Talking about pots and stuff.
He dogged you out earlier.
No, he was just.
He sold you upriver.
That was a case of the teacher being like, "What are y'all talking about back there? You want to share with the whole class?" And then I got up here and belted Travis Tritt. Already got 4 girls texting me wanting to go karaoke night with them. You did me a favor.
Polls last call for phone calls. I don't know what the hell else to do. I'm Buck Rising. So we have done nothing but talk about the godforsaken Titans game yesterday in Philadelphia. Lucas and I got back this morning. Lucas is bemoaning the idea that people are going to ask him about his Titans game or the Titans game when he goes to work out today. Double humble brag. One, people ask Lucas about the Titans. Two, that he's working out. Very happy for you.
You said these. What are you talking about?
Very happy for you. No, it must be
it
must be hard, is all I'm saying. Thank you for being willing to bear the cross of fame.
I'm starting to think there's a trend here, a reversal trend where
I project.
I've been well, yes, but that's been since day one. But I've been undermining you for so long that now I feel you've made it a point to undermine me as often as possible.
Yeah, it's not so fun when it's two-sided, is it?
No, I respect it though.
Okay, welcome back. 615-737-1045 is the number. Last call for phone calls. We'll do polls momentarily. So we have talked a tremendous amount about this Titans game, and there's obviously a lot more to flesh out before Jacksonville this weekend. But college football has been a bleep show today, and we haven't even gotten close to it. Tennessee is in the most consequential bowl of, the last 20 years? Easily? The last 20 years?
Yes.
Playing in the Orange Bowl against Clemson, that official by nature of Ohio State being in the final college football playoff rankings. Then you have the situation with the transfer portal today, where Lucas has just been in my ear every commercial break telling me that a different quarterback is going to a different university, some who have just been at the previous university from transferring for only a season, like Keaton Slovis.
One local. Mike Wright, Vanderbilt, hits the transfer portal. Running back Ramon Davis, Vanderbilt, hits the transfer portal.
I'd be curious to see where Mike Wright ends up. Because that's like, so Trent Dilfer, for example. Like, that's got to be something that Trent Dilfer is banking on. Like, and Mike Wright is not the kind of example of the person I'm talking about, but like, okay, Cade McNamara is going to Iowa, you said, right? The Michigan quarterback who lost the job.
Yep.
Okay, if he can't go to Iowa and there's all kinds of different talented players out there, most of which Trent Dilfer knows because of the Elite 11, because of the high school football, because of the way that he understands recruiting at that level, he is going to have a leg up to say, hey, super talented guy who couldn't get on the field, come to UAB.
Speaking of Trent Dilfer, our high school football hero tomorrow, final one of the year, state championships have wrapped up, is Lipscomb Academy wide receiver Junior Sherrill, who is a Vanderbilt commit and had a massive day on Thursday in their back-to-back state championship win over CPA, and just yesterday received a scholarship offer from UAB and Trent Dilfer.
Awesome. So have we had him on the show before?
I don't think we've had Junior on. We played my interview with Caleb Beasley, the Tennessee commit corner for Lipscomb Academy. Maybe we had Junior on at one point last year.
Maybe so. Either way, we'll look forward to having him as a part of the last installment of our Tennessee high school football coverage for the year. Unfortunate. I know Lucas had a good time in Chattanooga and then looked bleary-eyed in the Titans radio studio on Sunday. It's the first time I felt bad for you, like legitimately bad for you, because I know what that kind of tired is. I don't wish that on anybody. Like me running through the airport this morning, which we haven't talked about yet. Toy Field, by the way, we're out at Toy Field Live tomorrow. Come hang out if you would like to and bring an unwrapped gift for the Salvation Army's Forgotten Angels. We do Toy Field every year. It's a great time. All 4 shows go out. We'll be out there from 10 to 1, as is the custom, Lucas and myself. Robert, are you stuck here in the warm, in shelter? You?
Yeah, what do you think? I live out I'm going to go out there in that dreary-ass weather we got going on?
Well, yes.
Kids, man.
It's a good cause.
I mean, no. Oh, I thought you were talking about, like, do I have a place to go?
No. Okay, bleep them kids. I'm with you. What happened there?
I generally don't listen to you when you talk to me. No, I think.
See, that's not even an original thought. Now you're just doing his thing.
I'll be in here.
He comes at me like I'm not going to come back at him. Like, I don't know how you two haven't figured out that I'm not going to just bash both your heads together verbally back there when you come after me. What are you staring at?
Hello, everyone listening to the Buck Rising Show. This is Benjamin Kenobi, better known as Obi-Wan. I have but one thing to say. Lucas, use the Force. Use the Force, Lucas, to help interpret what the hell Chewie is saying. Oh, scrap that rubbish.
Lucas, I am not your father. I repeat, I am not your father, nor am I Buck's father.
I was once a Jedi Knight, and what I'm trying to say is, Lucas, it's time to update the final poll results here on the Buck Rising Show. Do it now.
Sure is.
And the polls are, as always, presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on all non-specialty new Fords. What do you think Mike Vrabel was talking about when he said the Titans are at a crossroads? Lindsay says that they aren't playing to the culture, which I think is indicative of the injuries catching up. They have to find themselves.
Well, and Mike Vrabel was asked about, changing their identity in the middle of the season. He goes, well, I guess the question then becomes, what do you define as the identity that we would be better suited to? And he went into the details of what he knows. Over 25 years in the NFL leads to success. So it's a fundamentally core question to them. And I think Mike is trying to challenge the locker room to be like, hey, I know things feel bad. I know we haven't been at our best. I know there are there are reasons why we could be worse, but let's not let that get to us. And that's the kind of crossroads that he's talking about mentally, and the togetherness and belief and all these things that are unquantifiable, but I mean, it's something he has success with.
What failed the Titans the most yesterday in the 35-10 loss in Philadelphia? Offensive line play, lack of separation at the wide receiver position, or the inability to affect Jalen Hurts. 81% say it is the offensive line. 12% the inability to generate a pass rush. 7% say wide receiver separation.
Michael Gross on YouTube says, come on, man. Titans were 7-4 with a top-notch D. They just ran into a buzzsaw. No, they've run into a couple. They've run into the Chiefs. They've run into the Bengals. They've run into 5 teams with winning records, had a game-saving interception that saved it. The offensive line is a problem. If you are coping, that's on you.
The problem is they've just stopped doing what they do well.
Yes. They don't get after the passer very well in the last couple of weeks. They don't run the football very well in about a month. Not great.
Yeah, everything that kept them in the game against Kansas City.
That's right. Not happening right now.
Is Derrick Henry the most important offensive skill player on the Titans right now? 55% say no. Jake says, call me crazy, but it's Treylon. We literally don't have another receiver on the roster that can create separation and catch passes more than 2 to 3 times a game.
I agree, and I'm shocked that other people do too. 55%, I did not expect that. I did not expect people to agree on that, but I think everybody's coming to the realization, he can't physically overwhelm people when there's no other help.
Name something more orange than an Orange Bowl between Tennessee and Clemson. Speaking of that, a little bit of news. Josh Heupel named the AP SEC Coach of the Year. Hendon Hooker named the AP SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
Congratulations to both. I will name one thing that is more orange than the Clemson and Tennessee Orange Bowl.
Well, now hang on. Save it, because I've got some good ones. Lebowski.
No, wait. Now, if they steal mine, I'm going to be pissed. No, let me go first.
No, I hope they steal yours. Lebowski says Dutch soccer and Formula One fans.
Damn it, that was mine.
Yes.
Damn it. The first one?
Yes.
That's literally what I thought. Those
Fitting
Dutch mother
Lebowski.
bleepers that beat us in the World Cup, every time they pan to their blonde-haired, blue-eyed, screaming orange fans, it just made me think of a Tennessee game. I'm done.
Adam says the traffic light I just ran.
Okay.
Those are the polls.
That's not great. There are many police officers in the audience who listen to this show. Don't get arrested.
10-2.
I'm so mad at you.
I'm so happy it was the first
one. It's the first one. When you told me that we were going to do that this morning, I was like, oh, it's perfect. I just watched that Dutch-USA game, Netherlands-USA game. We're back at it tomorrow. Come hang out at Toy Field.
Why are you sounding all grumpy?
Because I thought it was good. And the funny guy that we know is funny also thought it was good, too. That's
there are
why
only
I'm
two
pissed.
things I can't stand in this world. People who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.